December 23, 2015, Ellington, Connecticut. 2 days before Christmas. Lights on the houses, pine and cinnamon in the air. Kids waiting for vacation. At 7 Birchview Drive lives the Dabate family. Connie, Richard, and their 2 boys. A perfect Christmas card. That morning, Connie planned to go to the gym, but the class got canceled, so she came home. She never came back out. Her husband was found tied to a kitchen chair with plastic zip ties. He told police about a huge intruder in camouflage, a man with a voice like Vin Diesel. It sounded insane. But the police had a witness Richard didn't think about. A witness clipped to the dead woman's waist. A tiny box that counts steps. This case changed forensic science forever. This is the murder of Connie Dabate, or as the media called it, the FITBIT murder. Connie Margata was the kind of woman they would have voted most likely to smile in high school. Energetic, warm, she worked as a pharmaceutical sales rep for Reckitt Benckiser. Serious money. Richard Dabate was a computer administrator. In 2003, they got married on July 4th, Independence Day. Symbolic. A new beginning. Friends, like Ellie Clark, told police they were a solid couple. I never would have guessed, not in a million years. They had everything the average American family dreams of. A house with a lawn, 2 boys, 2 SUVs in the garage. Connie was active. Yoga, running, a Fitbit on her waist to track calories burned. Richard was an IT guy who loved gadgets and guns. 2 months before the murder, he bought a powerful revolver, a Ruger .357 Magnum. For home defense, he said later. But behind the perfect facade, the floorboards were rotting. In 2014, Connie opened the Notes app on her phone while Richard was at work. She wrote a list. She titled it like a death sentence, "Why I Want a Divorce." Let me read you some of it. Item 1. Immature behavior. Item 2. Tells personal information to friends. Item 3. Terrible parenting. Item 4. Lies about bills and money. Later, investigators found another list. Why I should stay. She was fighting for the marriage, but it takes 2 people to fight. Richard was playing his own game. He had a mistress, a woman named Sarah Gansner. But the worst part came when detectives pulled data from the cloud. It wasn't just an affair. A month before Christmas, Sarah told Richard something explosive. "I'm pregnant. It's yours." An American man in a trap. On one side, Christmas, wife, family, kids. On the other, a pregnant mistress expecting him to leave his wife. And Connie was starting to suspect. On December 22nd, the day before she died, she texted him, "Are you lying to me about the cable bill again?" She was digging, and Richard decided time was up. The morning of December 23rd, 6 a.m. Richard drops the boys at the school bus stop. Connie stays home. She plans to work out at the local YMCA. Around 9 a.m., according to Richard, he left for work. But 20 minutes later, he realized he forgot his laptop. He turned around. That's called an alibi. Richard enters the house. And then, like a bad horror movie, he hears noise upstairs. He goes up to the master bedroom, and he sees him, a huge man in a camouflage mask. "I told him to get out," Richard told police, "but he had a knife. Low, rough voice, just like Vin Diesel from Fast and Furious." Richard said the intruder shoved him to the floor, demanded his wallet and PIN numbers. And just then, Connie comes home from the gym. "Run!" Richard screamed. But Connie, according to Richard, acted like an action hero. Instead of running out the front door, she ran down to the basement to get the guns. The huge man followed her. Gunshots. 2. One in the abdomen. The second, a kill shot, to the back of the head. Richard said the psycho then came back upstairs, tied him to a kitchen chair with zip ties, burned him with a soldering gun, stabbed him, tossed the house, and ran away. Bleeding, in shock, Richard Dabate somehow reached his phone and dialed 911. When police arrived, the scene was horrific. In the basement, at the bottom of the stairs, Connie's body in a pool of blood. Upstairs, Richard tied to the chair. It looked convincing, until you looked closer. First to raise doubts, the canine unit. Trained tracking dogs. They sniffed the whole house, the yard, the fences. And every single time they came back to one spot. The ambulance where Richard Dabate sat. The scent of the Vin Diesel intruder did not exist. Second, the brutal torture. Richard claimed he fought for his life, but forensic experts found scratches. Superficial cuts, like a surgeon made them, not a raging maniac. And the zip ties? They were loose. Richard could have slipped his hands out any time, but he patiently waited for the cops. Third, no forced entry. No scratches on the locks, no broken windows, no footprints in the snow except Richard's own. But the real killer? The digital evidence. Richard was an IT specialist, but he forgot about his digital trail. Investigators seized the router. The data showed, at 8:41 a.m., when Richard claimed he was driving to work and emailing his boss from the shoulder of the road, his laptop was connected to the home Wi-Fi. He was sitting in the kitchen, drinking coffee, checking email. And at 9:18 a.m., just minutes before the attack, someone from that same laptop went to ESPN to check sports scores. And then, they went to the YMCA website to check the group exercise schedule. Do you understand? He was checking what time Connie's class started, so he could calculate when she would leave the house. Richard was lying, and the more police dug, the worse it smelled. And now, the star of this story, the FITBIT. For those who don't know, a FITBIT is a small computer you clip to your clothes or wear on your wrist. It counts steps, floors climbed, heart rate, and, most importantly, time of physical activity. That morning, Connie clipped her Fitbit 1 to the waistband of her workout pants. She was going to yoga. The device was charged and active. Police got a warrant for Fitbit's servers. What they found destroyed Richard's story. Richard said, Connie was shot around 9:05 a.m. when she got home from the gym. Fitbit data. Connie's last recorded steps were at 10:05 a.m. Think about that number, 10:05. A dead woman walked around her house for a full hour after her husband said she was dead. The Fitbit showed that between 9:18 and 10:05, Connie walked about 1,200 feet, up and down the stairs. That timeline matched the home security system. The alarm was disarmed at 9:22 a.m. using Connie's code. She walked in, disarmed the system. No chaotic break-in, just a normal morning. So what really happened? Here's what investigators reconstructed. Richard never left for work. He stayed home. He waited for his wife to return. There was a fight. Maybe Connie confronted him about the pregnant mistress. Maybe Richard just made a decision. The .357 Magnum is not a toy. It's a cannon. Richard shot his wife. She fell, but she didn't die instantly. Wounded, in agony, she crawled or stumbled to the basement, where the guns were kept. Maybe she was trying to save herself. She moved. She clung to life. And every step, every stair, that little Chinese gadget recorded into its memory. The last 45 minutes of Connie Dabate's life were written in binary code. Meanwhile, Richard realized his wife was dead. He staged the struggle. He cut himself with a box cutter. He tied himself to the chair. And only then, when the set was ready, he called 911. He thought he was a genius, but he forgot the device on his wife's belt. It took detectives over a year to gather all the evidence. But in April 2017, they struck. Richard Dabate was arrested at his home. Charges: first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and making a false statement. Prosecutor Matthew Gdansky laid out the motive in open court. Richard Dabate was trapped. Sarah Gansner, his mistress, was due to give birth 8 weeks after Connie's murder. If Connie filed for divorce, Richard would pay alimony, split the house, lose half his 401k, and worst of all, look like a complete failure in front of everyone. But if Connie dies in a tragic accident, he gets the insurance, he gets the house, he gets freedom. Speaking of insurance, just 5 days after his wife's death, December 28th, before Connie was even buried, Richard Dabate was sitting in an insurance office demanding a payout of nearly $500,000. That speed is shocking even by insurance standards. After his arrest, Richard made bail, $1 million. And guess what he did? He went back to 7 Birchview Drive, the house where his wife died in the basement. He lived there with his sons, slept in the same bed, and waited for trial. Connie's family was furious, but they waited. They knew the real weapon was data, and data doesn't lie. The trial finally started in 2022. Why the delay? COVID. But also, the defense fought like hell to kill the star witness, the FITBIT. Defense attorney Trent Lalima stood up and said, "This is a fitness tracker. It's not a NASA-certified chronometer. It's a calorie counter. It has error. We call it time drift." The defense hired professors who explained, if the phone the Fitbit syncs to loses internet, the time can drift by a few minutes. A few minutes isn't an hour, ladies and gentlemen, but it creates doubt. But the prosecution brought Dr. Keith Diaz from Columbia University. He testified under oath. The step count accuracy of this device is 98%. That's clinical grade. And time sync happens automatically when the device connects to a network. Dr. Diaz looked at the court clerk and said, "For the time on this Fitbit to drift by an hour, the user would have to be a complete caveman with no Wi-Fi or cell service for years." Connie Dabate synced her tracker every morning. Beyond the Fitbit, there was a mountain of other evidence. Neighbors' security cameras showed no strange cars. Richard's phone GPS showed he never left the house. And then, the prosecutor's risky move. Gdansky asked Richard, "Mr. Dabate, were you trying to pull a little Cheshire in your own home?" In Connecticut, the word Cheshire is like a red flag to a bull. In 2007, in the town of Cheshire, 2 men broke into a family's home and tortured them. Gdansky's implication was clear. Richard was copying famous murderers to make himself look innocent. The defense exploded. "Objection! Prejudice!" The judge made him rephrase. But Gdansky asked almost the same thing. It was a gamble, one that almost led to an appeal later. The trial lasted 5 weeks. The jury saw 600 pieces of evidence and heard 130 witnesses. The most painful testimony came from Connie's mother, Cindy. She said her daughter called her days before the murder and said, "Rick is pure chaos. He's a psycho." Then came May 10th, 2022. Richard Dabate sat at the defense table. Behind him, Connie's father, Keith Margada. The judge read the verdict. The jury deliberated only 2 days. Verdict: guilty on all counts. First-degree murder, tampering with evidence, false statement. Silence in the courtroom. Richard was handcuffed. The prosecutor asked for bail to be raised to $5 million because now he wasn't a suspect. He was a convicted killer. In August 2022, Judge Corinne Klatt delivered the sentence. She looked at Richard and said, "Your actions were cruel, cold-blooded, and senseless. You robbed a mother of the chance to raise her sons." She sentenced him to 65 years in prison. Richard Dabate was 45 years old. 65 years means he gets out in 2087, if he gets out at all. He will die behind bars. His sons will grow up without their mother, knowing their father is a murderer. After the sentence, Connie's brother, Keith Margada Jr., walked out to the microphones. He said the line that became the headline. "This doesn't bring Connie back, but it's justice. Now we can sleep at night." You'd think that was the end, but Richard Dabate didn't give up. He and his lawyers appealed. They argued that Prosecutor Gdański went too far with the Cheshire question, and that the FITBIT was unreliable evidence. The case went all the way to the Connecticut Supreme Court. And in March 2025, yes, very recently, the court ruled. The Supreme Court agreed. The prosecutors stepped over the line. Calling the defendant Little Cheshire was too much. The justices called the conduct troubling and unprofessional. But, they said, even if you remove those improper questions, the evidence against Richard Dabate was overwhelming. 130 witnesses, 600 exhibits, GPS data, the mistress's testimony, and, most of all, that damn FITBIT that kept moving at 10:05 a.m. The Supreme Court voted unanimously, 6-0, to uphold the conviction. 65 years stands. Defense attorney Lalima said, "We're disappointed. Rick is innocent." But honestly, all of America has moved on. The FITBIT case is now taught in criminology classes at Yale and Harvard. The Connie Dabate case is not just a story about adultery and jealousy. It's a story about how technology changed the rules of the game. Before, killers could lie. They could cry on camera, tear their shirts, swear on their mothers' graves. Juries believed emotions. Today, emotions mean nothing compared to server logs, your step counter, your car with GPS, your smart refrigerator. They are witnesses that never sleep. Richard Dabate was an IT guy. He knew how to clear a browser history. He knew how to encrypt messages. But he forgot about the little box on the belt of the woman he killed. That box recorded her last hour of life. An hour of fear, pain, and struggle. Connie Dabate couldn't run from her killer in her own basement. But her final steps, recorded in binary code, became a roadmap for justice. We're used to thinking digital footprints are a threat to privacy. But sometimes, very rarely, they are the only way to tell the truth. The truth someone wanted to bury. That's the story from Ellington, Connecticut. This was the FITBIT, the killer that became a witness. Thanks for listening.